Good afternoon. It's Tuesday, April 23rd. We are here for a County Council session. We have three proclamations to start this afternoon, starting with a proclamation recognizing Earth Day by Councilmember Glass.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. If you are here to celebrate Mother Earth, please come on down. This 7 billion people on planet Earth. See how many we can bring down to the well of the council. And I will note that this was scheduled to be a joint proclamation with the Transportation and Environment Committee members. Two of us just came from an event in downtown Silver Spring celebrating public transportation and all of that. And there's a lot going on. Here, come on in. Oh, there. Thank you. Thank you, Vice President Stewart. Very good. You know, good. We're good. Fantastic. So yesterday was the official Mother's Day. Oh my God. It is that kind of afternoon. I said Mother Earth. Yes, Councilmember Rice is agreeing. I appreciate that. Mother's Day is coming up, but yesterday was Mother Earth's special day. And here in Montgomery County, it takes all of us to make sure that we care for our planet and our local community. And all of the partners who are here with us today are making our collective ecosystem as resilient and strong and prepared for the future. And really, I just want to say thank you to everybody, because it is their work, their tenacity, and their activism that has put Montgomery County at the forefront of environmental stewardship. And I know sometimes it doesn't seem that way, but it is true. When we go to national conferences, we work with regional partners, and earlier this year I was appointed to the EPA's Local Government Advisory Committee, and I'm sitting in these meetings and I'm sharing with folks what we are doing, and we are on the cutting edge, trying to make sure that our ecosystem remains strong, that we protect our trees, protect our streams, protect our communities. And we have to do that because we've committed ourselves to climate goals. And if we want to eliminate entirely our carbon emissions by the year 2035, we got a lot more work to do. And so just to name a few, there are a lot of partners. I was really ready to go around the room and let everybody introduce themselves. But we have Nature Forward, who's here. We have Poolsville Green, Rock Creek Conservancy, Little Falls Watershed Alliance, Friends of Sligo Creek, the Climate Coalition, 350 MoCo, MCFACS, Conservation Montgomery, and of course we have DEP here as well. And we have others. And so first let me introduce my colleagues, let them make some comments, and then we have Director Munger here who will make some others. So Council Vice President Stewart.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kate Stewart, Council Vice President, and I just want to say thank you for everyone who's come today, and I just want to turn around and look this way and say thank you to each and every one of you. We have a huge task ahead of us when we think about our work on the environment and specifically climate change. And while that can sometimes feel really daunting, I want to say that I feel very hopeful because we are here in Montgomery County. We have all these amazing people who are working together on this, and we have the most outstanding staff here in Montgomery County who are not only know the issues and technically so smart on this, but care deeply about the environment and about the communities who are most impacted when we think about the impacts of climate change. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's come here today and works day in and day out on these issues.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here today. Marilyn Balcom, I cover the District 2. And it's so great to see everybody here, and ditto to the people behind us. We rely on our community to bring us issues, to really have a dialogue. Very often, it's not an easy solution. It's not even, we also have some conflict about what is the right solution. But what I love about this community is that they're very willing to roll up their sleeves, to dig in and to have these very tough conversations with not only with the community, with the council, with DEP, and it really is a united effort. And I also want to echo the thoughts of we have so much to be proud of in Montgomery County. We are often the leaders in Montgomery County, but what that means is that we need to go back and make sure that we have the best technology. Some of our systems might be old, and we need to look at what that technology is. We cannot rest on our laurels. And every day, there was an article in the Washington Post this morning about plastics. Every day we get new information, which means every day we need to rethink what we're currently doing and making sure that we're doing the very best we can for our environment. So thank you for being here. Thank our community partners and our Department of Environmental Protection. So thank you.
And it is our Department of Environmental Protection who we've been working with over the last year to pass some really monumental laws, but also getting into the weeds of the regulations, because we know that's where the real work is. And leading up the Department of Environmental Protection, celebrating his first Earth Day with us in Montgomery County, Director John Munger.
Thank you so much, Council Member. I also just want to echo the words of the Council members in saying that everybody who's here today, and I know you are standing in representation of many, many allies in our communities and our groups, is what moves progress forward in this county. None of us do anything alone. And what really makes Montgomery County unique is that we have such an impassioned and effective citizenry focused on and committed to working on environmental issues. And I think there's a misconception out there that government's going to solve all of our environmental problems and climate change by itself. And I think we know that's not true. It's going to take something from all community members, all businesses, all partners. And the exciting moment that we're in now is that we have a community that's really focused on it. I also want to say a very, very public thank you to the entire council for their consistent support. It's such an important time for energy and climate progress, and having a council that's so committed to it is really, really key. And County Executive Elrich as well. It's just an exciting moment here in the county to move forward. So a huge thank you. For those who missed it, last week we had 300 plus energy building professionals for our Energy Summit meeting in a 2-day meeting, the 11th annual in Silver Spring. And this coming Saturday is Green Fest, a public community celebration. It's going to be at Black Rock Center for the Arts. I hope you can all join us. Family-friendly event, because we all know that it's our kids and the next generation that really keep us on task and focus on these issues. So bring the family, bring yourselves, bring your community in. A huge, huge public thank you. And thank you so much, Council Member.
Thank you very much, Director Munger, and thank you for mentioning Greenfest. We'll all be there. It's going to be really exciting. And also, I just wanted to lift up the work that we have been doing. We mentioned plastics. It was mentioned in Montgomery County. There are 600,000 tons of trash each year, and 17% of that is plastic waste. That's why we're making the investments in our capital budget to eliminate and remove the plastic waste. It's also why we're making investments in the capital budget to remove food waste. and to recycle and compost those organics. So we are starting to really remove things from the waste stream so that we can do other big things like the incinerator, right? But these are processes we have to move through first, and it's the team that's here that's making all that possible. So now I'm going to ask my colleagues to come on up so we can read the proclamation. The County Council of Montgomery County proclamation, whereas the theme for Earth Day 2024 is Planet versus Plastics, a call to the action required to have a sustainable world for future generations. And
whereas the United States generates more than 36 million tons of plastic waste each year, and in 2023, plastics made up 17% of all garbage disposed of in Montgomery County. When not properly recycled, plastics linger in our natural environments, negatively impacting habitats and waterways. And
whereas we in Montgomery County are taking proactive steps to reduce plastic waste by prohibiting single-use plastics at restaurants, incentivizing shoppers to use reusable bags, and investing in waste management infrastructure to recycle and reuse plastics. And
whereas ensuring a sustainable planet free of one-time use plastics can be within reach and will require communities, businesses, and governments to work together and implement aggressive strategies for a greener future. And
whereas we collectively, I think we just did this, yeah. Whereas we collectively transition away from a plastic-dominated marketplace and invest in the renewable materials that will build and power a green economy that restores the health of our planet, protects our natural species, and provides environmental justice for all. And I'm going to let you do the honors.
now therefore be it resolved that the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland hereby commemorates Earth Day 2024, and be it further resolved that all Montgomery County residents are empowered, engaged, and motivated to take action against climate change and reduce plastic waste. Signed by all council members. Thank you. Thank you. You wanna pass these out? Anyone really want to proclamate?
Thank you to all of our external partners, to our Director of Department of Environmental Protection, for your help, along with the Environment and Transportation Committee recognizing Earth Day. I'll note I was at the 11th Annual Energy Summit. It was a great turnout from so many different partners, and was really pleased to see our county and community partners continuing to collaborate and to lead together on these issues, and look forward to seeing colleagues and many members of the community at Greenfest at Black Rock and Germantown this weekend. We're going to move on to our next proclamation recognizing Minority Health Month by Councilmember Sales.
Good morning. Thank you so much, everyone that's here for the Minority Health Proclamation. Please make your way to the front. Come on in closer so we can see you all. Thank you all so much for being here. I am so grateful for your presence. April is Minority Health Month, and I'm so honored to be joined by our Director of the Health and Human Services, Dr. Bridgers. We also have with us Dr. Keisha Davis, our county's Chief Health Officer. We also have Pat Grant with the African American Health Program. Hina Mehta with the Asian American Health Initiative, Marcella Campoli, Mariana Sarani, and Patricia Rios with the Latino Health Initiative, Janelle Martinez, Ann Marcore, and Jacqueline Jackson with the Black Physicians Healthcare Network, and Dr. Carr Grant and Dr. Troy Body, community health advocates who recently published their novel, Intersectionality in Health Education. Thank you all so much for joining us. Your efforts to advance health equity here in the most diverse jurisdiction in the state of Maryland is recognized and appreciated. This year's theme for Minority Health Month is Be the Source for Better Health, improving health outcomes through our cultures, communities, and connections. As the Council's lead for eliminating disparities in public health, I'm so proud that our county has continued to make advancements in this arena. And so much so that we have now been ranked as one of the healthiest counties in the state of Maryland. I think that deserves a round of applause. However, with celebrations, there's also a reminder that there's more work to do. Montgomery County is home to 4 of the most diverse cities in the country. And so today's proclamation is a reminder that we still have some disparities that require our attention, but the list is certainly not comprehensive. I want to thank our minority health programs, which include the African American Health Program, the Latino Health Initiative, the Asian American Health Initiative, and the Black Physicians Healthcare Network. We are positioned with practical tools and resources to tackle these disparities and ensure that all of our residents have the same access to quality health care, regardless of their race, ethnicity, or zip code. And so I want to ensure that our speakers get an opportunity to talk and address these issues before we read the proclamation. So I'm going to start by calling up Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Councilmember Sales, and thank you to the entire council for the recognition of April being Minority Health Month. As was mentioned earlier, diversity is one of Montgomery County's greatest strengths. We are the largest, most diverse, and healthiest county in the state of Maryland, and we have not left our minorities behind in doing that. And yet, we still know that there are disparities that exist. When we look at years of life lost, when we look at days of absence, when we look at life expectancy, there is a disparity, especially in our Black and brown population. And we at the health department, and I know with the support of the council, who has declared racism as a public health crisis, is emphatic about working on those disparities and eliminating them. And I want to commend many of the partners that are here with us today, the African American Health Program, the Asian American Health Initiative, the Latino Health Initiative, the Black Physicians Healthcare Network. Much of the work that they do, they are our hands and feet into the community in order to interact with folks directly to do the good work that we know needs to happen on a one-on-one basis to help eliminate disparities. So we thank you for the recognition. We recognize there is much more work to be done. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Now we will hear from Ms. Pat Grant, Dr. Grant, with the African American Health Program.
Thank you, Councilmember Sales and the entire County Council. As Dr. Davis said, we live in a county that puts a lot of emphasis on diversity, which is a good thing, but the other emphasis is on public health. So I am proud to be a resident. I'm proud to be a member, a resident. I'm also proud to be a member of the African American Health Program, where we focus every day on trying to eliminate the many disparities that impact our population, but the residents, and feeding into that overall goal of eliminating disparities all over. So one of the things that we want to emphasize, prevention is important. Also, we need to take the blame away from the individual, because there are many other risk factors that impact how a person's health outcomes cannot be as positive as they should be. But anyway, that's what we're here to do, and with the county council and the county's support, we can get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Grant. Now we will hear from Marcella Campoli. And is someone else joining? Okay, thank you.
Honorable Council members, Councilmember Siles, thank you for inviting us here today for this important proclamation recognizing Minority Health Month and the promotion of the theme, Be the Source of Better Health, Improving Health Outcomes Through Our Cultures, Communities, and Connections. In a county where 1 out of 3 residents are immigrants and almost half the population belongs to minority communities, it's crucial to acknowledge their vital role in Maryland's economy, culture, and communities. The 2023 Community Health Needs Assessment conducted by the Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services shed light on the diverse array of health needs within these communities. These needs include access to essential services such as behavioral health and substance use disorder treatment, quality primary and dental care, and culturally and linguistically competent health care services. While this report serves as a foundation for targeted intervention and future health initiatives, we must not overlook the challenges faced by our students. This crisis presents itself in our communities and schools under the triple threat of substance use, violence, and bullying. As we confront and address these challenges as a community, our commitment to health equity must remain steadfast with linguistically and culturally proficient programs aiming to heal and transform. We must ensure that every community member, regardless of background, country of origin, skin color, or gender identity, has access to the resources and support they need. Together, we should continue to build a healthier, more resilient community for all. I trust that with this proclamation, everyone commemorates the importance of universal health access and celebrate the prospect of good health for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Campoli and Ms. Sarani from the Latino Health Initiative. Now we're going to hear from Hina Mehta with the Asian American Health Initiative.
Thank you, Council Member, for the opportunity. I think my colleagues already, talked about the diversity in this county, and as an Asian American group, we are always considered a model minority. But when it comes to reality, it's not true. Always, when especially it comes to the health disparity, when we break it down, there are 10 plus Asian subgroups, and everyone has an individual need, language need, and their health needs. So I just want to say that thank you to entire county council members as well as county executive for all their support that is provided through DHHS to serve our communities. And pandemic has, if something, pandemic has taught us to how to work collaboratively, and I can say that Asian American community is very grateful for this support that has been given to us. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mehta. Now we will hear from Ms. Jacqueline Jackson with the Black Physicians Healthcare Network. We also have Janelle Martinez and Mar Correa with the Black Physicians Healthcare Network.
We are grateful to Councilmember Sales and the entire County Council for inviting us to be a part of this special event celebrating Minority Health Month. The National Center for Children and Families is honored to be a source for better health outcomes for Blacks in the county. On behalf of the practitioners, community partners, and patients of our Black Physicians and Healthcare Network program, thank you. Thank you for your continued dedication to understanding the needs of this community and acknowledging the work our group in ensuring that in this healthy county, Blacks can enjoy equitable health and wellness opportunities. Thank you.
This work cannot be done alone, and we cannot do this work in silos. And so I am so glad that we have all of our minority health groups here present to honor and raise awareness about this important month, to ensure that we're doing all that we can, especially in the midst of budget season, to ensure they have the resources they need to provide culturally competent care to our diverse communities. And so now I will read this proclamation on behalf of the council. Whereas National Minority Health Month is a necessary time to raise awareness about the health disparities that disproportionately affect communities of color. Whereas its origins date back to 1915, when civil rights pioneer Booker T. Washington established Negro Health Week to educate Black communities about proper health practices. Whereas this month we focus on the negative impacts of stress and emphasize how stress management can improve mental and physical well-being and minimize health-related issues. Whereas this year's theme, Be the Source for Better Health, improving health outcomes through our cultures, communities, and connections, highlights the need to understand the social determinants of health for racial and ethnic minority populations, impact their overall health. Whereas data shows that racial and ethnic minority groups throughout the United States experience higher rates of illness and death across a wide range of health conditions, including diabetes, cancer, HIV/AIDS, hypertension, obesity, asthma, and heart disease, when compared to their white counterparts. Additionally, the life expectancy of non-Hispanic Black Americans is 4 years lower than that of white Americans. Whereas centuries of racism have had profound and negative impact on communities of color, creating significant inequities in access to social and economic benefits, such as housing, education, wealth, and employment, commonly referred to as the social determinants of health. Whereas Montgomery County's minority health programs, the African American Health Program, the Latino Health Initiative, the Asian American Health Initiative, and the Black Physicians Healthcare Network provide culturally and linguistically appropriate services to improve health outcomes and alleviate health disparities. Whereas Montgomery County is one of the healthiest counties in Maryland and in the United States, according to the annual county health rankings, Montgomery can address disparities in public health by increasing the capacity and number of providers in underserved communities, addressing the social determinants that contribute to health disparities, investing in school-based health and wellness centers, expanding the oversight capabilities of the Office of Racial Equity and Social Justice, and continuing to partner with the increased funding for our minority health programs and initiatives. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland hereby recognizes Minority Health Month as a critical time to proactively make progress toward reducing global and local health disparities for our minority groups. Presented on this 23rd day of April in the year 2024 by Council Member Sayles and members of the Montgomery County Council. Thank you. And I'd be remiss if I did not announce our new Public Health Director, Ms. Nina Ashford. Thank you.
Thank you to our public health team. Thank you to all of our community partners for everything that you do every day in collaboration to ensure that everybody in our community is safe and that the social determinants of health do not have as much of an impact here in Montgomery County as they unfortunately do in places throughout our country. With that, we're going to move on to our next proclamation, recognizing ALS Awareness Month by Councilmember Katz. And I see my good friend, no stranger to this body and this dais, former Councilmember Craig Rice.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. You know, when Craig walked in the room, he owned the room. I don't know if anybody noticed, but he knows how to make an entrance. I'm just telling you. And it's good to see you back, my friend. In the United States, approximately 30,000 people currently live with ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. ALS is a devastating neurological disorder that damages nerve cells that control voluntary muscle movements necessary for walking and talking. These nerve cells gradually deteriorate, then die. As this happens, the nerve cells stop sending messages to muscles, and eventually muscles stop functioning altogether, including the muscles used to breathe. People with ALS often die within 3 years of diagnosis. However, some people with ALS live 10 and increasingly difficult years or longer. The slow progression of the disease becomes increasingly difficult for caregivers to manage as well. Though good news never comes soon enough, there is reason to be hopeful. While there is still no cure, there have been promising and unprecedented advancements in ALS research, treatment, and care within the past several years. ALS is unfortunately no stranger to the Council family. Today we remember and honor, and former Councilmember Rice is going to mention him as well, and honor Steve Goldstein, who served as the longtime Chief of Staff for Councilmember Rice. And we were sorry that his wife Mary could not be with us today as well. And I'm going to let Craig talk about Steve, but certainly it goes without saying Steve was a committed public servant who never missed a day, even in his final days, as he struggled to make it through the long seasons, the budget season which we're going through right now. I also want to recognize, and I know that Craig is going to mention him as well, and honor Jay Kenny. Jay ably served as the county's first Chief of Aging and Disability Services, and then as Chief Operating Officer for the Jewish Social Service Agency. Jay was a highly regarded and compassionate leader and dedicated public servant. He was a fierce advocate for our most vulnerable residents. The impact he made in the human services field will be felt, and it has been felt, for many years to come. We miss these two outstanding individuals and many others whose lives have been cruelly cut short by this devastating disease. We stand with the ALS community to advocate for and empower those impacted by this disease and are dedicated and united in the quest to find a cure to end ALS. I'm going to ask Ms. Wang to speak first, and then we're going to ask former Councilmember Rice to speak. Please.
Thank you, Councilmember. On behalf of the ALS Association and the countless individuals affected by ALS, I extend our deepest gratitude for this proclamation in honor of ALS Awareness Month. Your recognition reaffirms the importance of raising awareness about this devastating disease and underscores the need for continued support in our fight against ALS. ALS is a devastating neurodegenerative disease that gradually robs individuals of their ability to control muscle movement, eventually leading to paralysis and, too often, premature death. Beyond the physical toll it exacts, ALS profoundly affects families, caregivers, and support networks. It is a disease that knows no boundaries, impacting individuals of all ages, races, and backgrounds. In the face of such adversity, awareness serves as a beacon of hope. It shines a light on the challenges faced by those living with ALS and underscores the urgent need for improved treatments, care, and ultimately a cure. Through increased awareness, we strive to empower individuals and communities to become advocates for change, driving progress in research, support services, and accessibility. As we observe ALS Awareness Month in May, let us recommit ourselves to the pursuit of a future free from ALS. Together, we can make a meaningful difference in the lives of those affected by this disease and bring hope to countless individuals and families. Thank you.
So thank you very much, and it feels kind of surreal being back here at the council, but it's for such a good reason. And it's always interesting. I always used to marvel at how all of our proclamations tend to tie together. So I'm going to try and weave this together for you. So we have a daunting task like making sure that we're caring for Mother Earth, and we have something that's so difficult that's going to require all of us to put forth all of our effort in to be able to make a change. And then we understand that when these things happen, they impact some of the people in our community more than others. And so we have to step up and make sure that we're there for them to give them the resources and the accessibility that they need so that they can live out their lives, but hopefully at some point live their lives to the fullest extent practicable. So when I tie those two missions together and I talk about ALS, I want to pause and say thank you to this council, to the county executives, both County Executive Elrich and County Executive Leggett, who always supported the ALS Association. Why is that important? Because we do know how expensive all of the equipment is that needs to go in to help support these families. Many of them suffer from healthcare disparities. Many of them suffer from economic disparities. And while it does not affect some in our community more than others, the reality is the impact that it has on those families is different. And so because of that, your support is so vital and so important to making sure that we have a positive impact on their lives. And then thank you for investing in our biotech companies who are continuing each and every day to try and find a cure. We have come up with so many treatments that while they may not cure ALS, we are seeing are extending the livelihood and the well-being of patients while they are afflicted with this horrible disease. That comes from you. So it is very clear that this county, that this state is a leader when it comes to its investment in ensuring that all people in our county can have everything that they need to try and live out the best of their lives. And it's because of each and every one of you who continue to step up. And so I want to close by saying that as a former elected, and each of you who now are on this body know the sacrifice and commitment that you make is the same thing that all of our staff do as well. Until his dying day, when I got a call from Mary saying that Steve was not going to come in this morning because he had passed away, Steve was here by my side, continuing to not just make sure that I was supported, but that everybody in this room, everybody in this county was supported as well. That is what our folks do. And so we owe it to our community, to all those people that are in our community who are struggling with this disease, to make sure that we try and give back to them as well. That's all we're asking. And so I think we can do it. We can come up with a cure. We can definitely beat this. As we've seen, we've had daunting tasks with COVID and all kinds of other things, and we've succeeded. So there is no question that we can do this. We can make a difference, because it's going to make a difference in the lives of so many of our families who unfortunately have lost so many people due to this disease. So thank you, Councilmember Katz. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Whereas amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, is a fatal nervous system disease that affects nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord, ALS causes loss of muscle control and worsens exponentially over time. Symptoms can include trouble walking or doing usual daily activities, loss of balance, weakness in extremities, slurred speech, trouble swallowing, thinking, and behavioral changes. And whereas every 90 minutes a patient is diagnosed with ALS, the diagnosis age range from those who develop ALS between 40 and 70 years old, with an average age of 55. 90% of cases occur within any known family, without any known family or history or genetic cause. And whereas the ALS Association has provided millions in funding for worldwide research with a focus on medical breakthroughs and new advancements in research to enhance treatment and care. While there is currently no cure for ALS, there is hope for expanded treatment options and research developments to help cure this disease. And whereas the Esther Lerner Brenner ALS Assistive Technology Lab in Rockville provides access to meet with specialists, receive loans of medical equipment, and assistive technology to help improve the quality of life and care services, including support systems for patients and family members. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland, hereby commemorates ALS Awareness Month. And be it further resolved that the County Council encourages residents to adopt the ALS Association core values of compassion, integrity, and urgency to find a cure and create a world without ALS. It's presented today, and it's signed by our Council President, Andrew Friedson, and me. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Councilmember Katz. Thank you, former Councilmember Rice. And just wanted to give a shout out to Steve's family. We think of you often every time I walk by, in and out of this building, by the pond. I think of Steve and think of him watching down on the work that we do here every day. And so wanted to send our best regards to your family as part of our council family, which you will be part of forever. We will now be moving on to general business. Madam Clerk, are there any announcements?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. There are two additions to today's consent calendar. Item 8H is action on the sewerage system plan, water and sewer category change requests. And item 8I is the introduction of supplemental appropriation 2481 to the FY24 capital budget, Montgomery County Public Schools relocatable classrooms in the amount of $5 million. The source of funds is current revenue general. A public hearing and action are scheduled for May 7th, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. The minutes from the February 24th tour of stream restoration projects, the April 2nd, 2024 council meeting have been circulated to colleagues for review. Are there any objections to approving these minutes? Seeing none, these minutes stand approved. We're going to move on to public hearings. The first public hearing today is for Bill 724, Landlord-Tenant Relations, Tenant Protection and Notification. This bill would require a residential lease to include certain information related to renters insurance, automatic sprinkler systems, and emergency safety plans. Require the 24-hour availability of a building representative during certain emergency situations. Require notification of essential service disruptions in a rental building. Require an emergency safety plan and approval of the plan by the Department of Housing and Community Affairs. And generally amend the law regarding the landlord-tenant relations in the county. A Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee work session will be scheduled at a later date. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's consideration should do so at the close of business on May 2nd, 2024. Each registered speaker has 3 minutes to speak. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate you abiding by your time. With that, we're going to start with our first four. Dr. Earl Stoddard on behalf of the County Executive, Mary Renderos, Emily Towie, and Cesar Augusto Diaz. Dr. Stoddard, when you're ready, you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Council President Friedson, members of the County Council. My name is Earl Stoddard. I'm an Assistant Chief Administrative Officer testifying on behalf of County Executive Mark Elrich in support of Bill 724. I want to thank Council Vice President Stewart for proposing what we believe is a common sense legislation aimed at improving the information and access to support that residents have during emergencies and access they have to their landlords when such emergencies happen. This public hearing is made even more timely as we had a pretty significant fire today at the Enclave Apartments that our responders are still working to address. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Montgomery County Fire Rescue and Montgomery County Police Department for their life-saving efforts this morning, as well as credit the Red Cross, Emergency Management, Health and Human Services, Permitting Services, and Housing and Community Affairs for their ongoing support of displaced residents. As the county's former emergency manager, I have too often seen our residents' worst days look like. The county has developed a well-resourced system to respond to county emergencies, but too often, one area that the county cannot address is information held by the landlord about the next steps, what their insurance will cover, and the timeliness of things like accessing units or belongings once the response is ended. Having been on scenes like the Arrive Silver Spring fire last year, where residents had a pretty confident but ultimately erroneous perception of what the insurance would cover, I think it's really important that we not compound the trauma experienced by these events by having such errors happen in the future. And we believe that by increasing the information that residents have prior to emergencies, it'll help them better plan for and understand what they should do to prepare. The Department of Housing and Community Affairs strongly believes that the limitations of landlord insurance and tenant insurance requirements should be included in the lease summary presented to tenants when they sign their leases. The executive branch also does support that the bill includes some description of how tenants should utilize a 24/7 emergency number. Obviously, it should be available to them for emergencies and things where they ultimately have a need. But for example, while a faulty garbage disposal is an issue for a tenant, we would hope that they would not utilize such a number to call at 3 o'clock in the morning to make their landlords aware. So we would encourage some clarification of the intent there. Otherwise, we really very much support the intent and execution of this legislation and look forward to working with the council to enact it.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Mary Renderos.
Hi, my name is Mary Renderos. I represent Jubilee Association of Maryland, and we are here in support of this bill. Jubilee supports over 180 adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities in Montgomery County. Most of the people we support are leaseholders of the home of their choice, and many more are in the process of seeking affordable housing. In the not-so-distant past, people with disabilities were limited to living with family or living in a provider-owned group home. Today, people have more choice to pick where they want to live and receive the support they need to thrive. Jubilee is the largest provider of housing support services in the state, a DDA service that helps people with IDD find and maintain affordable housing. And our specialists help people not only search for housing, but be successful tenants and deal with their responsibility as tenants and navigate relationships with their landlords. This bill is essential for people with disabilities. Clear information, enhanced availability of landlords, and clear noticing will help people and their support teams address challenges they have. Fire prevention information is crucial to their safety and well-being. For people with disabilities, especially those with mobility challenges or sensory impairments, having clear information about fire safety measures in their building is paramount. For example, one of the people we support has autism and anxiety, and they're sensitive to loud noises. Without proper information, familiarity with fire safety processes, and support, a loud fire alarm would greatly upset this person. In addition, residential service providers and direct support professionals help people live safely and successfully in their homes. Having clear information about fire evacuation plans and alarms extinguishers will best equip the team to support and educate residents, practice evacuations, and be prepared in cases of emergencies. Finally, having timely and official notification when essential services are disrupted is crucial to health and safety. This past winter, several residents of an apartment complex who received residential support from Jubilee lost heat during the county-wide cold emergency alert. Their units were unsafe to occupy, and their direct support staff and housing support specialists had to act quickly to find alternative shelter. The heat was out for several days, and information from property management was minimal. A requirement for notification and updates on such outages would allow for better coordination and reduced disruption so people can make necessary arrangements. One recommendation we offer to the bill is to allow tenants to add additional context, such as their parent, guardian, or service provider, to receive landlord notifications so they can best support and address any needs. Thank you again for your work on this important issue.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Our next speaker, Emily Towie.
Good afternoon, Council President Friedson, Vice President Stewart, and Council members. My name is Emily Towie, and today I'm speaking on behalf of the Montgomery County Renters Alliance, as Matt Losak, our Executive Director, is unable to be here in person as he recovers from COVID-19. The Renters Alliance is Maryland's first and only regional nonprofit dedicated exclusively to renter outreach, education, organizing, and advocacy. Since our founding in 2010, the Renters Alliance has been an unwavering advocate for expanding and strengthening renter protections. Bill 724 increases apartment community safety and quality of life through more effective and reliable landlord-tenant notification and safety planning. We are in strong support of this bill because it will protect tenants from a lack of information and lack of proper notification concerning fire prevention, renters insurance, and the disruption of essential services in the building. Requiring greater clarity and disclosure of renters' insurance stipulations and leases is a prime example. Too many renters simply do not realize that their renter's insurance required by the landlord and included in the lease only protects the landlord. We would like to thank Vice President Stewart for sponsoring this important bill and recognizing the need for such legislation in Montgomery County. This bill will require landlords to provide tenants with vital information about emergency safety plans approved by DHCA, as well as access to a 24-hour phone number and building representative for emergency temperature control situations. We have also raised with Vice President Stewart a friendly amendment that would improve the bill's impact. Too often crimes that occur in and around apartment communities occur without proper notice of the circumstances involved to the residents, leaving information about crimes subject to rumors and speculation, and in some cases may leave residents prone to more crime. We ask that notices of criminal activity and how it is being addressed also be tracked and communicated to residents. We note that in the past, such information was provided through DHCA's e-properties. At the Renters Alliance, we often hear from tenants who are frustrated with the lack of notification from management when there are building-wide issues, especially related to maintenance, water, heat, and power disruptions. We listen to tenants who have experienced fires in their building, as we did when we worked with the residents of Arrive Whedon and Arrive Silver Spring, who were confused about the procedures and dismayed with the absence of accessible information and the preventative measures that were not put in place. Bill 724 intends to correct these rental housing shortcomings in order to safeguard the community's health, safety, and well-being. By requiring leases to include pertinent information about insurance, automatic sprinklers, and safety plans, tenants can be better informed and more prepared for emergencies. With required notification of essential service disruption in the building and access to a 24-hour emergency representative, tenants can avoid unnecessary surprises about their home and feel safe and secure. We strongly urge the PHP committee and the full council to prioritize tenant safety and vote in favor of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I'm going to turn it over to Cesar Augusto Diaz, and first just express again all of our condolences to you and your family.
Thank you, everybody, for letting me be here today on behalf of the people from Montgomery County and my daughter and others who are not here today. Last year, as you know, my daughter lost her life because people cut corners, you know. And last June or July, I got a meeting in Zoom, and somebody told me, because normal people like you do not understand. At the first time, I was angry because it was, you know, really bad for me and my family. How you gonna say that? But then I saw as compliment, because that's true. I am not normal, because we are not normal. I'm here to fight for these people, you know. And my daughter died because this building didn't provide it to my daughter's safety and the resident, you know. Like I explained to this guy who told me I am not normal. I say, what happens something like that happen in the middle of the night when everybody's sleeping in an unoccupied apartment? And he told me, that's not going to happen. A month later, that happens, December 31st. I'm glad that happened 7 p.m. because everybody was awake and nobody died. 12 incidents happened after my daughter died in the same building because nobody cared. They still violated people's rights in this building. In other buildings, you can see the news, everybody died every single day, you know, from the same incident. People pay, you know, utility in this building. They complain every single day because they don't have a water sometimes. They don't have an AC when, you know, it's more than 80 degrees. They don't have a heat in the cold days. And they increase, you know, the utility bills. They increase, you know, every year the monthly payment from this apartment. My daughter died for 83 cents a month, $100 for 10 years because they didn't provide the smoke detector, the fire sprinklers, and the fire extinguisher to my daughter. 83 cents, you know, and they say, how come this is happening in a rich country, in the first country in the planet? This is not going to be happening. More people are going to die if we don't do it. Nothing. And I'm here to speak out for those people who are afraid to speak out because probably they don't speak the language or probably because they are not legal in the United States. And these people, you know, forcing them to sign a paper without their knowledge or because they just need the apartment because they don't have a place to live. I remember last year when this tragedy happening, most people was afraid to speak because they say, you have to sign this paper, to speak to the news, to speak to this. And I say, okay, I have to speak from these people because they don't have voices. I have their voices. That's why I'm here today, to fight for their rights. And please do it for these people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your courage to be here and to speak before us today. Our next panel is Finn Finney, Nolu Crockett Nunga, Sharon Littlejohn, Nayareth Castro, Amidamola Williams, and Andrew Sondry. Finn Finney, when you're ready, you have 3 minutes.
Am I started? I wanted to start off by thanking the council members already in support of this bill. I am a MoCo renter of more than 5 years, and I work with renters in my capacity as a community health worker. I want to enjoy renting and living in Montgomery County and even recommend it to others, but without the regulations proposed in this bill, I am continuously put at risk and find myself seeking dwelling in counties with real protections. Currently, my only route of protections is by seeking accommodations and paying for documentation related to my disability, or paying a premium to rent at a location with better amenities. Safe temperatures and real disaster protocols are not amenities. They are basic needs that large corporations have priced me out of. Having air conditioning, emergency maintenance, and the ability to survive a disaster should not be gated behind a person's ability to pay more for them. Montgomery County renters deserve real protections for our health and safety, and this bill gives us that. For many of us renters, our schedules do not allow us to stand and ask for these protections. Please take a moment to consider how you can support all of Montgomery County, not just those of us with the privilege and disposable time to come here today. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker, Nolu Crockett Nunga.
Okay. Good morning, or afternoon. I'm so excited, and it's just such an honor to be here. Good afternoon, Council President Friedson, Vice President Stewart, who is my own council member, and esteemed members of the County Council. My name is Nolu Crockett Ntonga. For several years, I have served as a tenant association leader at the Sanctuary, a senior living community for ages 62 plus. Today, I am here to voice our strong support for the proposed legislation. Our community's experience has highlighted a number of critical problems. As the previous speaker shared about his daughter, it's just so horrible. We have problems. Despite multiple requests to our building management, there remains a startling lack of an emergency response plan. This oversight became particularly evident during 2 fire alarms, one of which happened in the middle of the night, and many residents, especially those with mobility impairments, had no idea of what to do. Our management, which is CPM, Columbus Property Management for the record, frequently shows either an inability or an unwillingness to address our concerns. This legislation, which mandates that property staff and landlords develop and communicate emergency plans, is a vital step toward enhancing the safety and well-being of all residents and fostering a constructive dialogue between tenants and management. Furthermore, we do support the amendment proposed by the Renters Alliance, which calls for mandatory notifications to residents when crimes occur on our property. More than a week ago, on our property's parking lot, 2 cars, actually 3, were broken into and windows shattered. Management has yet to communicate with residents regarding video reviews, police involvement, or measures taken to ensure our safety and protect our property. Timely communication in such situations is a necessity to ensure the safety and security of all residents. We believe that with these legislative changes, we can create a safer living environment and improve the accountability of management. We trust that this wonderful council will make the right decision and empower the residents of Montgomery County. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Sharon Littlejohn.
Good afternoon, esteemed members of Montgomery County Council. My name is Sharon Littlejohn, and I have the honor of serving as the Hillside Homes Tenant Association's president. Today, I stand before you to offer our support for the County Bill 724, the Tenants Protection and Notification Bill. As a senior residing in Hillside Apartment Homes in Gaithersburg, I can personally attest to the importance of feeling safe and secure in our homes. The County Bill 724 addresses these fundamental needs by enhancing tenants' protection related to fire, safety, and notifications. For seniors like myself who may face mobility challenges or other limitations, having clear information about fire safety measures or their lack in our residential leases is not just a matter of policy, but a crucial aspect of our peace of mind and well-being. Moreover, County Bill 724 not only mandates, but also enhances the notification of the 24-hour availability of a building representative, as well as timely notifications of any disruption of essential services. This provision is particularly crucial for seniors who rely on these services for their daily living needs. By ensuring that we are promptly informed of any disruptions and have access to a reliable point of contact, the bill not only protects us, but also empowers us to address our concerns and maintain our independence. In conclusion, County Bill 724 is not just a piece of legislation, it is a lifeline for seniors like myself and the entire community of seniors residing in Hillside Apartment Homes. By fortifying tenants' protection and enhancing communication with landlords, this bill ensures that seniors can age in place with dignity, safety, security. We strongly urge you to support County Bill 724 and prioritize the well-being of seniors in Montgomery County. Thank you for your attention and consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Nayareth Castro, and I believe we have translation services for this. Thank you.
Gracias, muy buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Nayiret Castro. Quiero expresar nuestro agradecimiento al Consejo por darme la oportunidad y hablar en nombre de la organización CASA. Como organización dedicada a defender los derechos de los emigrantes y las familias de clase trabajadora, negra y de color, CASA apoya firmemente el proyecto de ley del Consejo 724, el proyecto de ley de notificación y protección para los inquilinos. Este proyecto de ley promete fortalecer la protección de inquilinos y mejorar la comunicación entre propietarios e inquilinos, particularmente en el área de seguridad contra incendios y servicios esenciales. En CASA, organizadores como yo trabajamos incansablemente en la comunidad a diario, apoyando a miles de inquilinos a menudo que enfrentan condiciones de vidas precarias y protecciones inadecuadas. El proyecto de ley del Consejo 724 presenta un importante paso adelante y un salvavidas para las personas que están garantizando seguridad y bienestar. En primer lugar, este proyecto de ley fortalece las protecciones de los inquilinos relacionadas con la seguridad y las notificaciones contra incendio para que las familias emigrantes y los inquilinos de clase trabajadora y de color, muchos de los cuales pueden enfrentar barreras idiomáticas o acceso limitado a la información de estos requisitos, son esenciales para garantizar su seguridad en los hogares. Además, el proyecto de ley exige y mejora las notificaciones sobre la disponibilidad de un representante del edificio a las 24 horas y las notificaciones oportunas de cualquier interrupción de servicios esencial. Esta disposición en particular, crucial para aprobar las necesidades de los miembros de nuestra comunidad, quien a menudo luchan para que los propietarios escuchen sus voces y atiendan sus inquietudes con prioridad. Una de estas enmiendas importantes propuesta por el proyecto de ley es la ampliación de los requisitos relacionados con el control de las temperaturas extremas. Esta expansión garantiza que los propietarios proporcionen a los inquilinos información de contacto de emergencia para ajustar la calefacción y la refrigeración rápidamente. Para muchos de nuestros miembros, especialmente para nuestros niños pequeños y familias de edad avanzada, el acceso a la calefacción, el aire acondicionado adecuados no solo es una cuestión de comodidad, sino una necesidad vital para el bienestar de su salud y seguridad. Finalmente, aborda algunas cruciales en las relaciones actuales entre los propietarios e inquilinos al exigir a los propietarios incluyendo información sobre el seguro de inquilinos. Gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Nariet Castro, and I want to express our gratitude to the entire council for this opportunity to speak on behalf of CASA. As an organization dedicated to advocating for the rights of immigrant and Black and brown working class families, CASA stands firmly in support of Council Bill 724, the Tenant Protection and Notification Bill. This bill holds the promise of strengthening tenant protections and improving communication between landlords and renters, particularly in areas of fire safety and essential services. At CASA, organizers like myself work tirelessly on the ground daily, supporting thousands of renters who often face precarious living conditions and inadequate protections. Bill 724 represents a significant step forward and a lifeline for these individuals, ensuring their safety and well-being. First and foremost, this bill strengthens
tenant protections related to fire safety and notifications. For immigrant families and Black and brown working class renters, many of whom may face language barriers or limited access to information, these requirements are essential in ensuring their safety and security in their homes. Moreover, the bill mandates and enhances notifications regarding the 24-hour availability of a building representative in timely notifications of any disruption of essential services. This provision is particularly crucial in addressing the needs of our community members who often struggle to have their voices heard and their concerns addressed promptly by landlords. One of the significant amendments proposed by Bill 724 is the expansion of requirements regarding extreme temperature control. This expansion ensures that landlords provide tenants with emergency contact information to adjust heating and cooling promptly. For many of our members, especially those with young children or elderly family members, access to adequate heating and cooling is not just a matter of comfort, but a vital necessity for their health and well-being. Finally, it addresses crucial gaps in current landlord-tenant relations by requiring landlords to include information about the renter's insurance in the lease agreement. In conclusion, Bill 724 is a concrete stride towards greater equity, safety, and dignity for all renters in our community. We urge you to pass this bill swiftly and decisively, demonstrating your commitment to the well-being of the community members we all serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Muchas gracias. Our next speaker, Amidamola Williams.
Dear council members, thank you for the opportunity to introduce this bill. This bill is very essential, and I'm going to tell you why we need it. First of all, let me go back to the beginning. My name is Amidamola Williams. I'm a resident of Gaithersburg, and I'm a community advocate. And I'm here today. I stand before you to advocate for the passage of the Tenant Protection and Notification Bill, because we all need and deserve to live in a safe place without having to worry about life-threatening but preventive accidents. This legislation aims to strengthen tenant protections, particularly concerning fire safety and communication protocols within our county. As a resident advocate for the community, I firmly believe that enacting this bill is essential for the well-being of renters and landlords, of course. Proposed amendments to Chapter 29, Landlord and Tenant Relations, represents a significant step forward in ensuring the safety and security of rental properties by mandating the inclusion of vital information and resident leases such as building insurance coverage, renters insurance requirements, fire prevention measures, and the ability of building representatives. This bill empowers tenants with the knowledge necessary to protect themselves and their belongings. About less than a decade ago, there was an explosion in Tacoma Park, where I used to live at. When this explosion happened, it was, how to put this, it was a big mess. It took like maybe a couple weeks later that all the nearby apartment complexes, including mine, which I was living off of Houston Avenue, to have inspectors. And when I think about that, this is not being proactive. This is being reactive. This bill is a step forward to being reactive. Moreover, in conclusion, the passage of the Tenant Protection and Notification Bill is not only a matter of legal reform, but a moral and important to prioritize the safety of all of our residents within Montgomery County. Having a 24-hour staffer could be costly for landlords, but at what cost do we have to keep cutting corners when it comes to the lives of individuals, of renters? I urge you to support this bill for the betterment of our county and its residents. let's continue to be progressive. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Andrew Sondry.
Good afternoon, Council President Friedson, Council Vice President Stewart, members of the Montgomery County Council. It's nice to be in a room full of friends here today. For the record, my name's Andrew Sondry. I'm a resident of Germantown and an aspiring attorney, currently focusing on issues related to access to affordable housing and tenants' rights. So I'm here today to testify in favor of Bill 724, Landlord-Tenant Relations, Tenant Protection and Notification. A special thank you to the Council Vice President for introducing this important legislation. It goes without saying that renters here in Montgomery County and all across Maryland exist in a relatively vulnerable state due to the housing crisis. I've been a renter myself. I imagine all of you have been renters at one point or another. I'm sure that you have friends or family who are renters right now. In a market like ours, where there is high demand, low supply, and outrageous costs, renters can't afford to shop around for necessities like reasonable communication and notification practices contained in this legislation. I believe that many housing providers are in the market for the right reasons and they care about the residents, but we need to recognize that a truly free and equitable marketplace is predicated on a far more equal bargaining position than currently exists. As it is now, tenants do not always have access to important information about safety and comfort that should factor into whether or not they want to reside in a unit. This precludes informed decision-making and that would make it safer for tenants and subject property owners to reasonable market forces. This bill would, among other things, require tenants be provided an emergency phone number directly to contact the landlord or another responsible representative who can access heating and cooling system any time of day within 2 hours, information about various fire safety mechanisms and whether the landlord's rental insurance policy covers tenants' personal belongings, updates about building-wide outages, maintenance, repair, or disruption of essential services related to electricity, water, heating, and the power generator, and an emergency safety plan approved by the Department of Housing and Community Affairs. These things are more important than amenities, but without county intervention to ensure a decent basic standard of housing or a far more transparent marketplace than exists, there's no incentive for property owners to take the very small step of investing in these good practices. Some landlords may already do this, in which case the legislation isn't going to impose any new burdens on them. This brings the rest of them up to speed in the name of economic justice and smart market regulation. So thank you so much for your time and consideration, and I urge the swift passage of this important legislation.
Thank you. That concludes all of our in-person testimony for today. We appreciate you joining us. We're going to turn it to virtual, starting with Mayor Jeffrey Slavin.
Good afternoon. I am Jeffrey Slavin, Mayor of the Town of Somerset. Today I am testifying in support of Bill 724. I want to applaud your distinguished colleague, Council Vice President Kate Stewart, for introducing this important, groundbreaking legislation. As a former licensed real estate broker and property manager in the county for over 30 years, owner of rental properties, and long-term member of the county's Landlord-Tenant Commission, I am keenly aware of the multitude of challenges our tenants face, especially those who don't speak the language, have moved here from abroad, or especially are making use of housing choice vouchers. I have seen so many situations and helped adjudicate complaints where negligent landlords have failed to provide tenants with the obligations, services, and protections that they are paying for. I believe that this bill will begin to correct some of these problems. It has been my experience that most, but not all, of the larger multifamily rental property owners in our county do a good job in serving their customers. This legislation will help them do their jobs even better. Most importantly, the legislation encourages landlords and tenants to have better lines of communications and to ensure that the tenants will have a better understanding of the terms of the lease. In reading the bill, it is unclear to me whether all of the provisions also apply to single-family rental properties. Accordingly, I would urge the council to consider amendments to ensure that this new law would apply to all landlords in our county. Please call on me in the future if you need further clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Halima Ahmed.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I join you in strong support
of Bill 724, 430 days ago, I experienced firsthand the devastating consequences of inadequate fire safety measures in my apartment building. The tragic fire that killed Miss Melanie Diaz and displaced hundreds of people. That morning was filled with chaos and confusion right from the start. My room, marked by a bright yellow wall, was filled with so much smoke that I could barely see the yellow wall anymore. And this was before the fire alarm had even gone off. When I opened my door, I was met with complete darkness, so much so that even if somebody was standing in front of me, I could have not seen them. I attempted to leave my apartment more than once, but was unsuccessful. I was finally rescued from my apartment by firefighters from the Kensington Fire Station in the Glenmont neighborhood. We owe so much thanks to the firefighters who responded that morning and continue to across this county. It took about 16 minutes from the onset of smoke in my apartment to the time the fire alarm was triggered by my neighbor. The fact that the fire alarms did not go off on their own and in a timely manner alone underscores the urgent need for improved fire safety protocol. Before this incident, I did not know the value of sprinklers. What I thought I knew was that a place allowed to rent to residents in Montgomery County would have these measures in place. In other words, what I assumed was that what Bill 724 is seeking to mandate was already mandated by county laws. Empowering county residents with vital information related to fire safety and renter insurance would ensure that tenants are protected. That morning, we saw examples of people who were stuck in their units because they were on wheelchairs and did not have a way to come down. Differently abled neighbors who were not provided guidance to ensure that they had the resources they needed to come to safety, and others who were not even thought about at all because they didn't speak English. Neighbors who also believed that they had rental insurance that protected them, but they found out the day of the fire that the insurance did not protect them, it protected the apartment building. The language that was often used was, use our renter's insurance or you can get it from another company. This language implied that the insurance policy that was offered at the apartment was similar to an extent to other renter insurance, which protected tenants as well as the apartment complex. No one should have to endure the trauma and loss inflicted by preventable fire, and it's our collective responsibility to enact measures that prioritize the safety and security of members in our community. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker is Mishka Espy.
Good afternoon. My name is Mishka Espy, and today I have the privilege of testifying before the council as a Montgomery County constituent from District 4. In the early morning hours of February 18, 2023, the Arrive apartment complex located in downtown Silver Spring was ravaged by a horrific, preventable fire that took the life of my neighbor Melanie Diaz, hospitalized 20 people, including firefighters, and displaced over 400 residents, including me and my partner, Gianna Gronowski. Only after disaster struck did residents like myself become aware of just how vulnerable Trinity Property Consultants had left us to catastrophe. When we signed our lease, we were never informed that our complex was one of the 76 high-rise buildings in the county that still wasn't equipped with an automatic sprinkler system. We were also never informed that in multiple units and corridors, our fire alarm system didn't work, or that we lacked an appropriate amount of fire extinguishers on every floor. In the wake of the fire, smoke and water damage destroyed immeasurable amounts of personal property within our complex. Many of my neighbors assumed their precious losses would be covered by the in-house insurance they'd purchased when they signed their leases with Arrive, only to discover that the insurance package they were sold had been misrepresented to them and only protected Trinity from liability. Not all apartment fires are going to be as preventable as the one that took Melanie Diaz's life, but it's incumbent upon all Montgomery County landlords to proactively safeguard renting residents from harm to the best of their ability, and to fully, honestly, and transparently communicate with residents about the extent of those safety measures beginning before leases are signed. This bill would prevent predatory landlords like Trinity Property Consultants from cutting corners and taking advantage of tenants when our safety and well-being is on the line. Every Montgomery County resident deserves to be fully informed about the safety measures and issues that directly impact them in their own home. To that end, I urge this council to swiftly pass the Tenant Protection and Notification Bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Final speaker registered to speak today, James Perry.
Good afternoon, Council President Friedson and Vice President Stewart. My name is James Perry. Just a moment, please. My wife and I have lived at the Cold Spring Plaza Apartments in downtown Silver Spring for 15 years. I'm a retired engineer, a retired U.S. Air Force flight instructor, and a Vietnam veteran. I'm speaking in support of Bill 724, which gives people who rent their dwellings important information which we did not previously have. Let me explain. Number one, written illustrated fire safety and evacuation plans. In the 15 years we have lived in this building, I cannot recall a single practice fire drill involving all the tenants. I suspect many of the tenants in this building don't know the closest fire exit and location of fire extinguishers or how to use them. Many may not understand that they will have to use the stairs to leave the building and not elevators. Because many tenants may not speak or read English well, fire safety information needs to be at least bilingual, English y Espanol. Since I am partially disabled and live on an upper floor, it is important that the property manager of my building acknowledges I may have difficulty evacuating in the event of fire or other emergencies. Second point, although my property management usually warns tenants of scheduled maintenance outages, we often don't know about unscheduled outages of hot water and HVAC until after they have happened. Point three, the only thing many tenants know about renter's insurance is that their lease requires them to have a policy and not what the policy covers, specifically what coverage extends to the landlord. Now, Bill 724 increases information tenants deserve to have for their own safety and knowledge of their rights. I support this bill and the friendly amendment from the Renters Alliance. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for everybody for joining us virtually and in person to testify on this bill. Before we close this public hearing, I did want to reiterate our thank you and appreciation to those who responded at the Enclave today, our public safety professionals and all of our county response teams. Many departments were part of that effort, so thank you, Dr. Stoddard, for noting that. And I know that our colleague, the district council member, Councilmember Mink, was on scene as well. Let me turn it to her briefly.
Just very briefly, as stated, thank you to everyone who's been involved. I know we have county folks, but also others who are involved as well. Red Cross, who is on site, and this absolutely underscores the importance of this legislation and the needs that we have seen for quite some time at a number of complexes, including the Enclave. So thank you to everyone who testified today. Thank you to Vice President Stewart, and I look forward to getting to work to get this passed. Thank you.
Thank you, and let me turn it briefly to Council Vice President Stewart.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to the Diaz family, to everyone who came out today to testify, and for all the input that went into this bill. I really appreciate it, and I know it's very hard to relive that time again, and just appreciate all the advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you. This public hearing is now closed. I did want to briefly acknowledge, I think I misspoke earlier about the minutes. I said February 24th. The minutes approved for the tour of stream restoration project was in fact February 21st. And so I'm looking at the clerk to make sure that I get acknowledgement that I've said that correctly. And so now those who would have challenged when we showed up and checked our calendars, for those of us who were part of the stream restoration tour, hopefully now I have said it accurately. We're going to move on to our next public hearing, item number 2. This is a public hearing on supplemental appropriation 2477 to the FY24 operating budget, Montgomery County Government, Utilities, non-departmental account in the amount of $11,348,928. The source of funds is general fund, undesignated reserves. A Transportation and Environment Committee work session is scheduled for April 29th, 2024. Those wishing to submit material for the council's consideration should do so by the close of business today, April 23rd, 2024. There are no speakers registered for this hearing, so this public hearing is now closed. We are going to move on to item number 3. This is a public hearing on supplemental appropriation 2474 to the FY24 operating budget, Montgomery County Government, Department of Finance, UKG timekeeping system upgrade in the amount of $2.65 million. The source of fund is also general fund undesignated reserves. Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee work session is scheduled for May 1st, 2024. Those wishing to submit material for the council consideration should do so by the close of business today. By the close of business tomorrow, April 24th, 2024. There are no speakers registered for this hearing, so this public hearing is now closed. We're going to move on to item number 4. This is a public hearing on an amendment to the FY23 to 28 Capital Improvements Program and Supplemental Appropriation 2464 to the FY24 capital budget, Montgomery County Public Schools Planned Life Cycle Asset Replacement, MCPS, in the amount of $392,083. The source of funds is state aid. Council action is scheduled immediately following this hearing. There are no speakers registered for this hearing, so this public hearing is now closed. I will entertain a motion from colleagues to approve the amendment to the FY23 to 28 Capital Improvements Program and Supplemental Appropriation 2464. I have a motion from the chair of the Education and Culture Committee, Councilmember Jawando, second by Councilmember Sales. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. That is unanimous. It is approved 11-0. We're going to move on to item number 5. This is an update on the FY25 capital budget and FY25 to 30 capital improvements program. I see we have Mr. Levchenko, Ms. McGuire, and Mr. Mia, our CIP team, who are joining us here at the table, and I will turn it over to them to walk us through this item and the packet.
We're going to bring up a chart real quick, and then we'll get started.
While we're waiting for the chart, I'll just comment that the purpose of this item is really just to provide a snapshot today. We're here just to share with you an update of the work that the committees and the council have done thus far, and sort of share with you the revenue and expenditure picture and answer any questions. But this really is just an update and really just a snapshot in time.
And today we're going to be focusing on the general obligation bond gap with regard to the CIP. For reconciliation, we also do need to balance parks bonds, which right now we're not anticipating a gap there, and also tax-supported current revenue. Regarding the GO bond gap, we're about ready to get the chart up. We'll walk through the different elements of the gap. I do want to emphasize that, as you can expect this year, the gaps are a point in time, and this point in time was the staff report last Thursday, April 18th, so we've already had changes since then going up and down. So we'll keep the council updated as we go through this process and get closer to reconciliation in May. But with this chart, we did want to emphasize where we are now, but also where we started in January. The baseline for the gap tracking is the January 16 County Executive transmittal of his recommended CIP this year. The reason we use that is because that CIP balances with revenues and with the latest revenues forecasts and with the executive's recommended expenditures. So it provides a handy zero baseline, if you will. But there are some changes we have to work within that, including within the executive's recommended CIP. Line 1 of the chart shows the undesignated reductions that the county executive assumed for GO bonds across both Parks College and Montgomery County Public Schools. So these undesignated reductions ultimately have to be filled either with reductions or actual reductions or deferrals somewhere in the CIP or through increased revenues in some form. So that becomes, if you will, the starting gap. Now, fortunately, we didn't have other macro issues affecting the gap as well this year. In January, the executive had not recommended exceeding spending affordability guidelines. We will talk about his recommendations in March. But for purposes of January, there was no change there. And also the revenue assumptions, the set-aside, and other macro assumptions from January were accepted initially by the Government Operations Committee and the Council in early February. So those did not add to the gap. However, continuing along the path to get to today, on March 14th, when the executive transmitted his recommended operating budget, he also transmitted revisions to the CIP, and included within that was a write-down of recordation tax revenues. And within the 25 through 30 CIP, that was about a $29.4 million impact. And that's shown, each of those years is shown on line 2 of this chart. So that did increase the gap. So you had the $37 million gap in starting out with the undesignated reductions, and then you have the recordation tax write-down as well. There were some other adjustments that helped a little bit in March, more technical adjustments, which we won't get into today. But those are the main adjustments that have come over from the executive that we would accept as changes that we need to assume within our CIP. And I do want to mention that in balancing, we're not just balancing the 6 years, but we're also balancing each individual year in the CIP. And so the undesignated reductions, while $37 million over 6 years doesn't sound huge, when you look at the first 4 years, it is quite large because the executive had basically pulled money out beyond into 29 and 30 and assumed undesignated reductions in 25 through 28 to make those numbers work. So we do have some work to do in those individual years in addition to finding the getting even with the 6-year total as well. And then the next line, line 4, gets to the council changes to date across all the projects. Basically all the work the committees have done reviewing all the departments and agency projects. And I've divided this among 4 major categories. The first shown here is Montgomery County Public Schools, and that reflects the non-recommended reductions that the Education and Culture Committee had requested that MCPS provide to get them closer to the county executive's recommendations. They provided 2 scenarios, and scenario A, which is listed here, was one that helped reduce or achieved the 6-year reduction to avoid the or to address the undesignated reductions, but it also did some additional things that the Government Operations Committee and the Education and Culture Committee were very also supportive of, which was to not only push expenditures out to meet the spending affordability needs, but also right-size the CIP with systemic funding in the out years for projects that were either underfunded or did not even show funding in the out years, even though they are assumed to continue indefinitely. So the Education and Culture Committee felt this improved our fiscal situation going forward by not requiring that gap to be filled next year or the year after when those years get closer in the CIP. So that's what's represented with the MCPS reductions shown in line 4. And that helped by about $42 million in the 6-year period, and you can see the numbers across the 6 years. We also had other changes, including in Montgomery College. The Education and Culture Committee recommended including the new Rockville Theater Arts Building project that had been proposed by Montgomery College. This was not included in the executive's recommended CIP, so it is an addition to this and does add to the gap for purposes of this discussion today. And then we had the transportation category, which includes a number of projects which the Transportation and Environment Committee has initially supported reaccelerating, or not reaccelerating, undeferring, if you will. The county executive had recommended a number of fiscal delays or delays for fiscal reasons in a number of projects, and the committee reviewed and in most cases opted to try to restore those where possible. And there's a significant fiscal impact to doing that, which adds to the gap here today. There were a couple of reductions, production delays, and also some other projects that were deferred, but the net result is a significant increase in the gap from what the committee and the council has preliminarily looked at with regard to the transportation CIP. And then the rest, the catch-all category of other here, is a handful of projects elsewhere in county government and the other agencies that impact the gap, although that number is relatively small. When you count all of those items together, the undesignated reductions from January, the recordation tax write-down, some of the other macro adjustments we've made since then, and then all of the changes to the capital projects that the committees and the council have preliminarily discussed to date, you have a gap as of last week, a 6-year gap of about $186 million. And then you can see the numbers across the 6 years, about a $19.3 million gap in 25, and then significantly larger gaps actually in 26 and 27 and 28. So we have some work to do to balance those years out and to bring that 6-year gap back down to meet our spending affordability guidelines. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Naeem, I believe, to continue, or Essie?
Yes, I just wanted to quickly say apologies for the technical difficulties the CIP team is having. The chart, however, that we are going over is on page 2 of your packet, and so hopefully folks have found that, but I wanted to just say in case anyone's watching at home as well.
Okay, we'll close it off with, so again, given the size of the GO bond gap that's remaining, restoring project priorities will be very challenging going forward. We have noted the projects on Circles 1 and 2 as changes, but the entire CIP is really up for reconciliation as we go forward. So we've been noting that in committee discussions, and we will be taking an early effort in the coming week or so to see what options we can develop.
And just to say in addition, so the chart that is shown on page 2 also does not reflect the another revenue change related to current revenue. That is the, there was $20 million in the executive's original CIP submission that then was removed in the March submission for the operating budget. That $20 million was recommended by the executive to be spent differently in the operating budget. The council, of course, took an initial approach to determine your approach to not increase bonds to accommodate that. Nonetheless, that is an additional, that $20 million can't be spent in both places, and so at some point that will be part of our reconciliation. And again, that's not reflected as a change in the assumptions on the bond chart. So again, just wanted to highlight that that is another factor that we will have to be looking at. Again, what you're seeing here are the projects in their snapshot at this moment, but there are still a lot of moving parts. In addition to the bonds, which is sort of the first key that we work from with affordability, there's also current revenue. Again, we've mentioned a part of that, but there is movement between other projects that are funded with current revenue, such as technology and the agencies. We're also continuing to get information about state aid. Primarily, we've gotten some news about state aid for schools, some good, some bad. We've gotten some news out of the General Assembly related to state aid for other projects such as transportation. So the punchline is that we will, of course, continue to monitor all of those puts and takes. Nonetheless, the real punchline is that unfortunately none of the news really in the collective that we've gotten since January is positive, and so unfortunately we're coming to you to report, as we have shared, a rather large expenditure gap at this moment that we'll need to close between here and reconciliation. So we really just wanted to again share the fiscal snapshot, answer any questions. We'll again continue to refine the numbers based on the moving parts that we've described, and continue to work to look at options related to projects, but it is going to be very challenging to restore any projects, and really we'll be looking at trying to meet those affordability metrics. We, of course, will be back to you as we finalize reconciliation in May.
Well, thank you. First of all, let me just thank the team for all of your hard work and the hard work that is to come. Thank our colleagues in the executive branch for their work in collaboration, and all of our outside partners. It's a lot of work here to figure out all the puts and takes, and we've got a lot of tough decisions before us. And I'll just note, we're 1 month away to the day of what our expected final passage is of the budget. So I think this is a very important touch point to understand what is before us on the capital budget side of things. We're really 3 weeks from when the bulk of the major decisions to decide on the budget, because the final week really is, as colleagues know, to draft the resolution. So we got a few weeks ahead of us that are going to be challenging, a few weeks ahead of us that are going to be intense, and this sets the stage for that. Let me turn it to colleagues now who have asked to weigh in. We're going to start with the two main chairs of the committees that are primary on here, starting with Education and Culture Committee Chair, Councilmember Jawando.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to express my appreciation to Mr. Lovchenko and Ms. McGuire and the awesome CIP team. Just wanted to underscore, we worked really hard. To thank my colleagues on the E&C committee, Council Members Mink and Albernaz, to right-size this and truth in budgeting, and we had to push a lot of projects out, and also include things that are going to help and are needed in schools, like repairs and ADA and HVAC and the like, to actually account for those. And we were able to free up some money, particularly in the early years. There are some continuing conversations with, around the edges. Mr. McGuire kind of alluded to that this is a moving target, but with Montgomery College, there may be some opportunity to free up a little bit of, I think it's likely to free up even more money so we could do even more work here, but it's not going to solve our macro problem, of course, but it could free up some additional capacity. And I just want to, so I say that to say that, we don't have anything else to free up, in the projects that are where they are. I think they're going to, from my view, and I think the committee's view, are going to need to stay where they are. Hopefully we get, state aid has been a mixed bag. And then the last thing I just wanted to, Ms. McGuire also mentioned the straw vote we took, I think last week on 2 weeks ago on the 9th. Yeah, it's running together here. But the straw vote on the bond issue in 25, obviously that was not covered here, as was mentioned, so that's another thing that we're going to have to deal with. I think it's something we might, want to reconsider and take another look at in light of everything that's going on. And just really appreciate the work of the team, and I know it's not easy, but it underscores just how tough this job will be and how much in demand good county projects are. So just wanted to mention that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Our next chair of the Transportation and Environment Committee, the other main piece of the CIP, Councilmember Glass.
In defense of our decisions, right? That is what we're doing. I very much appreciate the process that the E&C committee went through, because it is different than the process that the T&E committee went through, and I think we need to highlight the reason for that. One, the E&C committee works extremely closely, hand in glove, with MCPS, which takes up half the budget. And has the staff commensurate to do a lot of the heavy lifting with regard to facilities planning, and they know intimately where projects need to be, not only this year, but in the next 6 years and beyond. And so while it is this body that ultimately make many of those decisions, at least fiscal, it is with the collaboration of MCPS that the E&C committee is able to make those decisions. On the other hand, the T&E committee really just worked with the Department of Transportation, which is the executive's opinion and his prerogative put into the budget. And one thing I want to highlight for everybody following this, and again for colleagues specifically, is that on April 9th, when the T&E recommendations came to the full council, it was a listing of all the projects in that and a breakout of where those funding dollars go. Because unlike the partnership of MCPS, we took the tact of wanting our colleagues, the 11 members of this body, and even more specifically the 7 district council members, to have the opportunity to weigh in with each other to have all the projects come before the full council and to make that self-determination as to where those dollars should go. And so processes were different because I think fundamentally they are different. And so I look forward to working with colleagues over the next month to reconcile these, be they projects that span several districts, like some of them do, mostly the bus rapid transit projects, but many of them are hyper-local. And the district council members I know do an incredible job of representing their districts, and the best way to facilitate that was to have them all back on the table. And so that is why the T&E committee took the stances that we did, why they're reflected in this graph, with being very heavy front-loaded, but I know through this process that will work its will as we deliberate internally. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Next, Councilmember Lukey.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to council staff for all of the fine details, because this is difficult work, but I certainly, and I think all of us up here, appreciate all that you do. I do want to thank you for referencing the state funding as well, that contributes to our decision making and what we can or cannot do, and in particular, and I appreciate my colleagues discussing the two distinct ways the ENC committee and the T&E committee did their work on this, different approaches, but sound reasoning as to why in both. It's my understanding that the state funding that relates to school construction projects is not necessarily project specific, or it is. Okay. Can you comment on that for a moment?
Yeah, sure. We're still waiting on final action from the Interagency Committee on School Construction.
Mm-hmm.
However, we do have a lot of draft information about where the numbers are likely to land for most projects, but there can still be some wiggling as they finalize actual eligibility by project.
And the IAC's eligibility determinations are related to specific school buildings. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the school system has to apply for each project individually. There's a worksheet they have to fill out with cost information,
Right.
square footage information, programs, capacity, and enrollment projections, and all of that.
And in the transportation realm, there are multiple projects that are within the transportation CIP that relate to projects where we've already gotten state funding that's designated for specific projects, correct?
With the state funding, yes, that would also be going to specific projects, unless we have a project that we are putting in the CIP in advance and then requesting funding.
Sure, but there are a fair number that already have slots within certain years within the CIP for which the state has already authorized funding. And that's significant, because where the state funding's already there, we want to make sure we're best using funds that were already allocated, because as we've learned over time, the inflationary cost of doing capital projects just keeps going up. So if we delay the things that we've made the ask to the state and they've given the award, and then we delay it further, we're causing another cost gap that we then, the county, have to fill. So I think that's important. And I understand the significance of the numbers that are before us and the very hefty dose of realism I think we all need to carry with us in these next 30 days as we move to the finish line. And that we know we can't be able to restore all of the different projects. We're going to have to make tough choices. And I do think, though, there is still opportunity to balance that out by using some of the surplus revenues that we have currently to plug gaps here, which are also one-time expenses, not ongoing operating expenses. And I'm not saying it's an absolute that it must all go that way, but I really do think we have to use a portion of those surplus revenues in order to keep our capital budget projects to the greatest extent, again, maximizing the dollars that we've received, and knowing that the cost of these projects isn't going to lessen over time, in order to make sure that we keep as much as we can and do our best job to save as much as we can to move forward. I know that's difficult, because I know that the county executive's operating budget assumes taking those one-time revenues and putting them into the operating budget. And that's a separate issue that we'll have to deal with then in terms of understanding what does affordability mean when we don't have a guaranteed revenue stream to cover it moving forward, and what we need to do in order to diminish gaps moving forward. So that's where my head and heart are, and it's not because all the things in the operating budget aren't worthy causes too. And I think we all feel that tremendously. But there's a difference between what we can know aspirationally that we would want to do if I had unlimited resources, if we had unlimited resources, and what we can actually afford to do without creating additional harm. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sale.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, SC Keith and Naeem, for walking us through the packet. We know that there are limited funds and lots of projects in the CIP. One thing I wanted us to turn our attention to was the most recent revenue estimates, specifically for the CIP. I see the additional reduction of almost 9.4 million of recordation tax revenue in FY24, creating a total of 38.9 million. And I just wanted to know if you can share more on the biggest reasons for this and any suggested actions that we can take to address this budget shortfall for the next few years.
Sure, thank you. So first, and again, our numbers are a moving target, so I do have to provide a clarification here. There's an error. It is 4.4 million of tax revenue in FY24 and a total write-down of 33.9 million. Apologize for that, but your point still stands. Of course, that's still a large number and a large write-down. That does reflect just lower than projected experience in those revenue sources, and I think we can. There are many opinions about the state of the market and what might be happening with the housing market and other factors, but it does reflect an actual write-down of revenues there. So in terms of things that we'll do to look at that, again, we are going to have to balance all of the revenues and expenditures, and so we'll be looking at again all the resources that are available to us to make those expenditure adjustments that we may have to make. But certainly, that is not the kind of news that we want to have, especially in those early years of the CIP. As Mr. Levchenko pointed out, the FY25 and 26, those early years are very challenging from an expenditure overage standpoint, and those are also years that are hard to find expenditure adjustments because so much stuff is ready to go and perhaps in progress. So those are difficult years for us to reconcile.
Anything else?
Well, we do, with all the revenue sources affecting the CIP, like impact taxes, recordation taxes, we do ask OMB and Finance for their latest, greatest estimates for April when we get into May, so that we do have the activity for the first basically 10 months of this fiscal year.
Okay.
So we can use that to make our best estimates for the last 2 months of the year, which sometimes can help us, sometimes it hurts us. But at this point, we're generally not going to revisit 25 through 30. Yeah. We got those estimates in March. We're going to stick with those for now until the next set of estimates come out. So we're sort of stuck with the fact that the recordation taxes, it can be particularly vulnerable to market conditions, interest rates, things like that. Although, yes, the council approved an increase in the recordation tax last year, even with that increase in the rates, we're not seeing the equivalent revenue coming in because of the market conditions.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all of the colleagues who have requested to speak on this item. Again, thank you to the CIP team. We've got plenty of work ahead of us, colleagues, over the next few weeks, and really appreciate all of the hard work of staff to help us to get there. We are going to move on now to our next item, which is item number 6. See, we have several members of the executive branch who are here joining us, and this is a continued conversation on the CIP discussions. This is a work session on the FY 25 to 30 Capital Improvements Program, CIP, for Right-On Transit Center and MCPS Bus Depot relocation projects. This was a joint committee of the Education and Culture and Transportation and Environment, and I'm going to turn it over to Chair Giwando to share with us the joint committee's recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to our colleagues and our colleagues on the T&E committee. The two committees met to review these two projects together because they are very related in the CIP. It's one of Mr. McGuire's favorite projects. The Transit Maintenance Depot and the MCPS bus relocation, depot relocation. We made a unanimous recommendation from both committees, and just as background, both projects have in them $3.5 million in the FY 25-26 for each. Then that's to conduct community engagement, project scoping, and preliminary design activities for a new transit facility that would be shared by Right-On and MCPS buses on the property of the current Shady Grove MCPS Transportation Depot at Crabs Branch. There's an interagency staff working group that has had council staff and MCPS transportation facilities staff and OMB and DGS. They've worked together for many years, too many years, and if you want to know how many years, just visit SE's office to identify yeah, exactly. To identify possible solutions. That would have been a long time ago there, I don't know, to the Shady Grove Depot. The concept here is to consolidate transit operations to the rear of the property and create a new shared use facility for Right-On and MCPS that includes central maintenance and parking. And just for I always think it's good for context for the millions watching at home. MCPS has 14,000 buses. I'm sorry, 1,400 buses. Yeah. 14,000 would be a lot. Right-On has about 1,100, right? No. The total amount. It's the 250, 350.
389.
389. There you go. The exact number. So just to give you scale and scope, and obviously there's buses that are other places for MCPS as well. This project would create a new access point for vehicles, which is really important. That would eliminate the need for buses to use Crabs Branch, which has been a big thing in the community, and also give some great mixed-use development over time is the idea. Last thing I'll say, and I'll turn it to Mr. McGuire for what I'm sure I missed something, and my colleague from the T&E committee, Chair Glass. I want to thank Councilmember Lukey. She sent a memo to the joint committees. It's her district expressing support for this plan and is very aware of the community concern and also, I think, genuine hope that something's moving forward here. So with that, I will turn it over to to my co-chair.
Let me turn it over to your co-chair, Councilmember Glass.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you to the Education and Culture Committee for a very thorough joint committee. Talked about this and talked about a number of other things as well, and to all of the members. Chair Giwando highlighted the top line, and I just want to hit on it a little bit more, that from today we celebrated Earth Day here at the council. It was yesterday, celebrated globally, but the only way we're going to meet our climate goals of having eliminated our emissions by 2035 is by creating a new facility, and that is what this facilitates. And so from the Department of Transportation and public transportation lens, this is going to help us meet our Vision Zero goals. From the MCPS current bus depot, as was mentioned, this is going to help us achieve our smart growth goals by allowing finally for the redevelopment of that property by the Shady Grove Metro. We just got to figure out how to do all of that, but this investment is the biggest step yet to achieving that reality, and I'm glad we're finally here, and applaud all the staff over many, many years and the community leaders who have been rightly pushing us to this point. Sometimes government does not work as fast as we want it to, but we've reached a really good place here and are going to continue pushing forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lukey.
Thank you, Mr. President, and want to thank the county executive, the executive branch DGS, for all of your continued collaboration on this issue and for really being a great partner since I took office on this issue. And, you know, recognizing that master plans are things we aspire to. But this case is kind of different because the land at issue is actually the county's land. So it's a little bit different than some of the other things that we might have in master plans, because we're in the position, and now in the position more than ever before, because of WMATA's willingness to have the county take over the Metro Access Road on the east side, that the timing is ripe and right for us to move forward with this project. And newer residents who have come to join this community since the 2006 master plan, Shady Grove sector plan, did so because back then they were told that that was going to be turned into housing, and it hasn't yet. And yet our housing needs have grown exponentially since then. And you know, we've all participated in different discussions related to transit-oriented development and the need to be able to be flexible so that people can live, work, play, and access without a car. This is one of those locations where that would be possible once this vision is realized. And I know we talked about that when we had the governor here doing the safety walk in Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez's district, and how doing this in and around WMATA sites is critically important for our future and to maximize both our environmental goals with reduced emissions and our housing goals. We know that you've already been having substantial conversations with the community, and I'm appreciative for that. And put it on your calendars now. The official kickoff is on April 30th. I know we will all be up to our eyeballs in budget season, but come to Shady Grove. And we know this is going to take time. And this is going to require a public-private partnership with the county, and county uses the land to help pay for the overall cost of the project. This is delicate, complex, and will take time. So I appreciate that. I know these things aren't easy, but it's a tremendous opportunity for housing, for parks, for a future potential elementary school, if needed, based on MCPS needs and student capacity needs, to fulfill what the county promised long ago, and that our new residents of the area have also been told would be coming, and to grow our county next to existing transportation infrastructure. So for that, I thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Katz.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And let me just join the chorus and thank the two committees for their hard work, and the current council member who represents that area. I represented that area up until this last redistricting, and Council President last time very graciously mentioned that it couldn't get solved until Councilmember Lukey was there, and I appreciated that. You know, I'm somebody that pays back well, but in all fairness, and I have to tell you, I sincerely appreciate the hard work of all of our staff, because you all never gave up. Nobody ever gave up, but there was times you figured, what are we doing? I mean, I thought I knew this county, and I'd look all over and say, well, maybe we can park buses there. Well, it's not going to work there. Maybe we can. I mean, it continues to be a huge concern. But because of all the people who are currently working on it, I sincerely appreciate what you've done, and I think there's a possibility that we can finally solve this, because it's been dragging on an awful long time. Thank you, Mr. President.
No problem, and I just want to note, I'm pretty sure you loosened the jar a little. Yeah. So, you know, she definitely did the heavy lifting, but you loosened the jar a little. So I want to give you credit for that. Turn it to Ms. McGuire.
And I just wanted, before council makes a decision on this, I just wanted to summarize a few of the key points. There are two CIP projects before you. Again, one is in the Department of Transportation, and one County Department of Transportation, and one is in the County General Services, titled the MCPS Bus Depot Relocation Project. And so both of those projects, again, as has been presented, there's $1 million in each in FY25 for a total of $2 million, and $2.5 million million each in FY26 for a total of $5 million. That's $7 million across those 2 years to really begin the scoping, the planning, as has been said very well. Thank you, Ms. Ludke, that this is going to be a very complex process, and the planning is going to be a very critically important first step of that process. This is an important step for this parcel. It's an important step for the county's use of that parcel. It will not, however, solve the infrastructure problem that is facing the school system in particular and Ride-On as well. And so I do just want to remind folks that certainly I am as happy as anyone about these projects moving forward and the outcome for this parcel, but we do also need to keep our eyes on those next steps to complete the work of housing our important fleet infrastructure for schools and for Ride-On.
Appreciate that. With Grace in class, Ms. McGuire is playing the role of dose of cold water today for today's meeting, but appreciate you uplifting that and making sure that we have a reality check on ensuring that we understand what this does and doesn't do. I did want to just put my Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee chair hat on and just note, this is very important to land use, to moving forward with not just the master plan in this particular area, which is very important to the community as noted by the district council member, but also to fulfilling our goals of turning parking lots into places, of creating vibrant spaces, of making sure we have community amenities throughout the county that support 15-minute living and support the type of quality of life and job access and housing and other worthwhile endeavors that we have. This is key to that, important aspect of that, and just want to thank and acknowledge our partners in the executive branch for some creativity here. This had to think a little bit outside the box. In fact, this is one of those where I feel like you threw the box out and started building a new one, which was something that feels like it started as a carriage depot. I feel like that was appropriate, and appreciate your work on that. So with that, we have a joint committee recommendation here that was unanimous, as we heard from the joint committee chairs, and we will take a straw vote on that joint committee recommendation. All those in favor of the recommendation, please raise your hand. That is unanimous. And we are going to move on to item number 7. Action on supplemental appropriation 2440 to the FY24 operating budget, Montgomery County Government, Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service, IFF COVID booster vaccinations, $134,190. Source of funds, undesignated fire fund reserves. There was a joint committee of the Government Operations, Fiscal Policy, and the Public Safety Committee, and I will turn it over to Vice President Stewart to share with us that recommendation.
Great. As was said, we had a joint committee of the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy and Public Safety to review this item. And this is, just to let folks know, this is to support the administration of COVID booster vaccinations for career firefighters as required by the county's collective bargaining agreement with International Association of Firefighters Local 1664. Our firefighters adhere to CDC guidance for vaccinations and recommendations on vaccines. There is no mandate, and all the personnel will be eligible for vaccination on an available and voluntary basis. This was a unanimous decision, and I don't know, Ms. Farag, if we had anything else to cover, or if my co-chair had anything to add.
No, you did, obviously, again, did a great job. I just want to say that it was a 5-0 vote because I'm on both committees, and if I could have voted twice for it, I would have, so thank you.
There you go. We'll mark you down as 2 votes there. Okay, we have a recommendation from the Joint Committee, Government Operations and Public Safety Committees. Those in favor of approving the supplemental appropriation 2440, please raise your hand. That is unanimous. And colleagues, we're going to move on to agenda item number 8, the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Lukey, seconded by Councilmember Katz. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. Great. I just want to wish all those observing a happy Passover this evening. And with that, colleagues, we are adjourned.